Okay, let's talk about sun for a minute. When you come in our nursery, we try to organize the nursery so that every plant that requires sun is out in an open area. So generally everything out there will take full sun. Full sun's defined as 6 hours a day of unobstructed sun. And anything that requires shade, we generally try to put under this big pecan tree right behind you, or over among the pine trees and the pecan trees as you walk into the nursery. And even doing that, sometimes we get a little too much sun, so we're going to have to build a shade cloth structure out here over the winter, so when you come back in the spring, this will look a lot different back here. But the idea is that some plants take full sun. You can put them in full sun, and full sun's defined as 6 hours a day of unobstructed sun. Okay, plants that'll take full sun, loropetalums, gardenias, you know, various types of pittosporums, plants that take shade. And by the way, generally, with the exception of dogwoods and Japanese maples, all the trees take full sun. Because remember, a tree's objective is it's going to grow and create shade, so they have to get put in the full sun. The other one, by the way, that I wouldn't put in full sun is a dogwood. Dogwoods just, they really get burned up pretty good in full sun. The other thing to keep in mind is we talked about hardiness zones. So a plant that is grown in Oregon may survive in a South Carolina hardiness zone, and they may say it'll take full sun. But full sun in Oregon is a lot different than full sun in Lexington, South Carolina. Full sun here is really baked down full sun, particularly in the summer. Filtered sun. Plants that like filtered sun are plants like azaleas. Okay, azaleas, they can't thrive in full sun, even though there are some growers who would insist that they can. We don't recommend it, and we grow thousands of azaleas here. We like filtered sun, and filtered for an azalea is really the pine trees, because if you think about an oak tree or for a partial sun, an oak tree has branches that spread far and wide and low, and they'll create a lot more shade than an azalea can tolerate. So when we talk about partial sun or dappled sun, you also hear it referred to as, we talk about pine trees, and then the pine needles add acidity to the soil, and azaleas really love that. So azaleas do really well in partial sun. Plants that do well in the shade, winter daphne, edgeworthia, hydrangeas, fatsias, acubas, and there's quite a few more. Some, by the way, can live in sun or shade, like a dwarf gardenia can survive and thrive in either climate. But generally there's not too many of those plants. And of the sun here, the morning sun is the best sun for a plant to get, because it's not so harsh in the morning. Sun comes up, hasn't had time to really dry out and scorch anything, if you will, as opposed to the afternoon sun. So if you've got a plant that says it takes partial sun, the next question you want to ask is the sun where you live morning or afternoon sun? Because if it's afternoon sun and it says it'll take partial sun, if you asked us, we would encourage you not to do that, just because the afternoon sun is very harsh in the July-August time frames. It starts to get tolerable in September, but July and August, and even June this year, the afternoon sun was very, very harsh. A lot of people come in and say, I want a fast-growing tree because all I've got sun. If you're living in a newer home around here, the front of your yard probably got landscaped up really nice, and then you went to the backyard and there's nothing in the backyard. And generally what happens is the sun sits in your backyard in the afternoon. So people want to know, what can I plant that's going to grow fast and give me shade? We always recommend maple trees. Sycamore trees grow fast and they'll give you shade. But if you want something that's going to get big and provide a lot of shade, any variety of these maple trees will do just fine. But sun's a tricky one around here, because it's not so much now or the morning sun, but it's the summer and it's the afternoon sun. And if you haven't experienced that yet and you get thirsty, just remember how thirsty your plants are getting at the same time in that hot afternoon sun. Can I plant a tree that won't have invasive roots that go under the foundation? Maple trees are okay for that, because when you plant a tree that's going to get that big, you want it away from your house. And by the time it grows a root that far, it's not an invasive type of root. The one tree that we tell you not to plant is an empress tree. Empress trees will grow 8 or 10 feet a year. They get huge, but they have a very invasive root system. The question was, what if I have a tree that's planted in the wrong location? When can I move it? The best time to move a tree is right now. Okay? It's just like planting a new tree, because you want to get it there so that it's got enough time to adjust. So the best time to move a tree is in the fall. And depending on how big it is, you know, some trees it's more practical to cut down, because by the time you dig the root ball up, the rule of thumb is you dig the hole as far away from the tree as the drip line off the tree is. So depending on how big the tree is, it's more practical to cut them down sometimes and buy another one. But yours is probably not in that shape, not in that situation.